Christianity has been shaping the world for over 2,000 years, but when it comes to women's roles, the story is complicated. In some times and places, faith gave women a platform to lead and inspire. In others, it kept them in the background, obedient, modest, and silent. I'm not here to attack anyone's beliefs. My goal is to explore how certain teachings, and the way they've been interpreted, have shaped women's lives, for better and for worse. Let's step back in time and see how we got here. In the very beginning, women were right there at the heart of the movement. Jesus welcomed women into his circle, something radical for that time. Mary Magdalene, often misunderstood, was actually one of his most loyal followers and the first to proclaim his resurrection. We meet women like Priscilla, who taught alongside her husband, and Phoebe, called a deacon and benefactor. Early Christians often met in homes, and women hosted, taught, and led these gatherings. But as the church grew bigger and more formal, and more connected to the Roman Empire, things began to change. Leadership became a male-dominated space. By the 4th century, Christianity was the empire's official religion, and the church reflected the empire's male-led structure. Leaders began to point to certain Bible verses as proof that men should lead and women should follow. Verses like 1 Timothy 2:12, "I do not permit a woman to teach or to have authority over a man," and Ephesians 5:22, "Wives, submit yourselves to your husbands." For centuries, these verses shaped church teaching. Men preached, men governed, men made the rules. Women's roles centered on being wives, mothers, and caretakers. Important roles, yes, but almost always under male authority. Alongside limits on leadership came heavy rules about purity. The Virgin Mary was held up as the perfect example, humble, obedient, and pure. Women's sexuality was often treated as something dangerous or in need of control. In many Christian cultures, modest dress codes were enforced, and the burden of sexual morality was placed mostly on women. This purity culture became deeply rooted. It shaped dating, marriage, and even how women viewed themselves. And while the ideas varied from place to place, one pattern stayed the same. Women were often judged more harshly than men. But here's the thing. Even in restrictive systems, women found ways to lead. Some became saints, mystics, and reformers. Hildegard of Bingen preached to kings and bishops. Catherine of Siena advised the Pope. And in modern times, many Protestant churches have opened leadership to women. Feminist theologians began rereading the Bible, pointing out stories where women led and prophesied. They argued that the restrictions came from cultural bias, not God's command. Today, women lead entire church networks in Africa, shape liberation movements in Latin America, and serve as bishops in parts of the Anglican Church. But in more conservative spaces, restrictions are still firmly in place. So, has Christianity manipulated women, or has it been used by some to limit their freedom? The truth depends on where you look. In some contexts, faith has been a tool of control, reinforcing male authority. In others, it's been a source of courage, dignity, and leadership. Religion doesn't exist in a bubble. It reflects the culture it's in, and cultures can change. The big question now is, how will Christians today interpret their faith? Will they keep the traditions that limit women or embrace equality as part of God's vision? That conversation isn't over, and it matters for all of us.